Let's bring in now Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, who's at the center of a firestorm right now. Governor, so happy to have you this morning. As everyone who's watching knows by now, Major League Baseball has elected to yank its All-Star game out of the city of Atlanta in response to your new voter integrity bill. That bill has been painted. It has been smeared as a voter suppression bill, and that has caused many corporations, not just Major League Baseball, from Delta and Coca-Cola to Major League Baseball, to say that Georgia has embarked on a process of voter suppression and they will not be in business with the state of Georgia. What is your reaction to that?
Well, it's unfortunate that Major League Baseball has caved to the cancel culture. And quite honestly, President Biden and Stacey Abrams and a lot of other people are simply lying about this bill to pressure these organizations. It's really a sad day for Major League Baseball. As somebody that grew up playing baseball as a kid and a fan, played in high school, big Braves fan. I mean, this is terrible for the organization. It's terrible for the fans. It's terrible for the small business owners in the Metro Atlanta community in our state that was looking forward to hosting this game and it put a lot of resources into it, all because of a big lie. I mean, this bill does not suppress anything. In fact, New York, where Major League Baseball is headquarters, their voting laws are more restrictive when it comes to early voting than Georgia's are. We have 17 days of in-person early voting. New York has 10. This bill adds the opportunity for people potentially to vote on 2 optional Sundays, which would give potentially some counties 19 days. Are we boycotting them because they're in New York? No. This is just a cancel culture, and I will tell you, the people at home should be scared because their ball game is next. Their business will be next. Their way of life will be next. It is time to stand up and fight this and just say, look, we are not going to take this anymore. It's ridiculous.
Governor, how does the lie get so big so fast? Take the CEO of Delta, for example, who initially said, hey, this has some reasonable things in it, and then the mob descends and he's changed his position. So how does the lie echo and grow so insidiously?
Well, it certainly doesn't help when you have the President of the United States saying that, and nobody in the national media, at least in the mainstream media, will even ask for a correction when he simply lies, gets 4 Pinocchios of all people, of all places, from the Washington Post. I mean, that should tell you right there, he's not being truthful. He continues to lie and mislead about what the bill does. It actually adds opportunities for people to vote. It secures ballot drop boxes that were never in the law before we passed this legislation, requires continuous counting, simply uses a voter ID, which is free in Georgia. We've been using for in-person voting since the mid-2000s for absentees, since we had 350% increase in mail ballots this election to help the county elections officials be more efficient and be more secure and take an arbitrary process out. I mean, how is that suppression? It is not. It's just a buzzword that they use. Then they go to the CEOs and the corporate boardrooms and they browbeat these people to falling under pressure, and that's exactly what's happened.
Governor,
none of them are citing specifics in the bill. If you'll notice, they're just saying, this is a step backwards, or this is wrong, or whatever. Like, none of them are pointing to specifics in the bill because they know damn well their people were in the Capitol working with us on the bill. They knew what was in it, and now their position has changed.
Right. They just say Jim Crow, and they don't explain.
That's right.
Former President Trump has weighed in. He said baseball's already losing tremendous numbers of fans, and now they leave Atlanta with their All-Star game because they are afraid of the radical left Democrats who do not want voter ID, which is desperately needed to have anything to do with, doesn't have anything to do with our elections. Boycott baseball and all of the woke companies that are interfering with free and fair elections. Are you listening, Coke, Delta, and all? Do you agree with what the president is saying, that conservatives, those who care about free and fair elections, should boycott Delta and Coke and any other companies that weigh in on this or interfere in Georgia's elections?
Well, I think the president, like me, is very frustrated at this cancel culture, not only with this, but many other things that have gone on. The thing that's unfortunate about this, the Atlanta Braves organization doesn't support this change. They're very upset about this. They're upset for their fans and their small business owners that are at the Battery at Truist Park that were looking forward to having, big crowds at the game, patronizing their small businesses. That's who this is going to hurt. And I've had people telling me, look, we're canceling our tickets to the Braves. And I said, look, don't be mad at the Braves. They do not support this decision. And they're like, forget it. Guilt by association. We can't do it because of Major League Baseball. That's what's so sad about this. And even Democrats are coming out saying how wrong it is to move the game. This helps nothing to further discussion. What Major League Baseball should do if they have an issue with a provision in the bill, they should simply talk to me about it, because I'd be glad to do it. They have yet to do that. They have yet to bring up one thing that is actually in the bill that they're mad about. It's just that it's not worth it. The pressure's too great. Stacey Abrams and the White House, they're just done with it. And that's what's wrong with the country right now. But we have to stand up and fight. And I can tell you that I'm going to continue to do that.
So to be clear, Governor, there have been no specific demands of you on how to change this bill. There's been no specific problems, as you pointed out earlier, that have been illustrated or laid out for you. Simply the characterization of it being Jim Crow 2.0 voter suppression has been used as a cudgel to browbeat corporations. That's the end of the story, the beginning and the end of the story?
Well, if you look at Jim Crow 2.0, the domain name was registered, weeks ago, before anybody even knew what was going to be in the final version of the bill. I think the playbook for this was written over a month ago because the left and the radicals, Stacey Abrams, including President Biden, obviously his team didn't even know what was in the bill. I think they thought it was going to be suppressive and it was going to be bad. But, the end result was not, because it went through the process. We worked with the House, the Senate, with reasonable people, got things in there to provide even more access, but also just make sure that in Georgia it's easy to vote and hard to cheat. And I guess they don't agree with that. But none of the statements from Delta, Coca-Cola, or Major League Baseball that I have seen cite one single thing in this legislation that we need to fix. And if there is something, bring it on. Let's talk about it. But this thing has been worked on for 4 or 5 months now, and none of these people have said anything.
Of course.
The issues that they did say something about, at the end of the day, didn't end up in the bill, which is how the process is supposed to work.
Yeah, of course.
It's all just so sad for baseball fans that the league has now made baseball in the United States of America so political.
Putting fans in an impossible place, having to turn their back on a game they love because, as we pointed out, and you pointed out, Governor, it's become all political. Maybe Atlanta, though, should just change their name to Beijing, Governor, because ultimately Major League Baseball has no problem with working with China, which is a point that Tom Cotton recently pointed out. So Major League Baseball expanded their partnership with China in 2017. Tom Cotton tweeted this, saying, hey, MLB, how many days of early voting are allowed in China? So why is the left so willing to give a pass to authoritarians or even states that have more restrictive voting laws than yours, but they come down on Georgia?
Well, I think it's a bigger agenda, and I certainly appreciate Senator Cotton, Senator Rubio, and others weighing in and calling these companies out and calling the league out, because that's what they have gotten themselves into. They are in a no-win situation now because they're subjecting themselves to be, nitpicked everywhere they do business. And the same can be said for Delta and Coca-Cola. New York, New Jersey, wherever it is they're flying or selling or whatever, compare that to Georgia. And look, I have said for over a decade that I believe in the Constitution that the state should decide how elections are run. And this is what this is all about. This is a political play by the president and Stacey Abrams and a lot of other people that want H.R. 1 to pass. It's an unconstitutional power grab to federalize elections and not allow the states like ours to let their elected General Assembly decide how you vote. In California, if they want to do all mail voting, that's fine. If they don't want to have a photo ID requirement, that is certainly their right. If they want to have same-day registration, they can do that. I personally think that's bad for secure elections, even though ours are very accessible. But it's to the states to decide that, not the federal government. And that is what this is about. It's the power play for H.R. 1.
Governor Brian Kemp, thank you so much for getting up with us this morning, telling us exactly the specifics behind the bill, and not only that, the process of how the bill came together. Thank you for your time this morning.